All right. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get started then, I guess, just out of respect on everybody's time. We'll just do, just do a quick roll call if that's okay. Everybody ready to go ahead and get started?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Roll call is Diane Allenbecker.
Here. Yep.
Bradley Klingsborn.
Here.
Peter Ross. Bob Matthews. I see Bob there. He's working on unmuting. I see Bob. Yep, he's waving. I got him. Got you, Bob. Thanks. Brent Weicker.
Here.
Okay. All right. We have a quorum. I would ask for an approval of the agenda for the March 8th Texas Incremental Districts Joint Review Board meeting, please.
So moved.
Motion by Brad.
Second.
Second by Bob.
Muting here.
That's okay. Thank you. It's all right, sir. Thank you. Okay. I guess all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? There being none. Okay. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from the September 22nd, 2020 meeting. Those are attached in your packet. Hopefully everyone should have a copy of those. Any questions on those minutes?
It's not something we need to change, but I did notice that the way a request for a motion was written down as anyone want a motion, EMO.
Okay, we can amend that. That's
no need to change that. It's funny, but
okay. Any other amendments for the minutes? If not, could I please have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Brad.
Take it, Brent.
Seconded by Bob. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Great. All opposed? All right. Thank you very much. We'll go on to regular business. I guess now this will be just as good as time as any for me, for Brent, for Bob, and Brad, although Brad at least have talked to, at least introduced a couple times. My name's Neil Stechelde. I'm the new development director here for the city. So nothing like hopping on. Oh, here comes Peter right now. Wait a second here. There we go. Hello, Peter.
Sorry.
Okay, we were having some Zoom issues on our end too. Not a problem. So, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
We just got started. I was just introducing myself. I'm Neil Stechelde. I'm the new development director here. I took Kevin Vonne's place. So nothing like jumping into amending some TIF districts on week 6 of the jobs here. So how can we? Hopefully we've got these all in, and I said several of these I think should look pretty familiar. Peter, we have approved the agenda and the minutes. We just now getting ready to start talking about regular business. So you got perfect timing. So
All right, good.
So yep, perfect. So I guess just what we wanted to do is maybe just kind of quickly go through. There's 2 actionable items that we're going to be discussing under regular business, both as essentially the allocation amendment from TID 7 to TID 23, and then essentially making 23 the recipient of that exact same allocation amendment. The other items essentially don't require joint review board action, but we've included them under informational under the next item. So certainly we'll walk through those to see if anyone has any questions on those items. Is that acceptable? Does anybody have any questions before we get started and go through those? Okay, excellent. I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. Let's see, maybe we'll get that up to here. Let's see, how's this going to work? I need to move you guys off of my key screen here. That's a lesson learned from last time. There we go. Okay, give that a second here. All right, hopefully that shows up for everybody's. Let's see, that's not the one we wanted there. Let's try that. Okay. All right, not exactly the view I wanted on the screen, but hopefully everybody can read that. Can everybody read the slides okay on those? Okay, we'll just kind of briefly go through these. These were essentially the 4 districts we had action proposed essentially for these amendments that we are looking at. TID 7 is actually 3 different items: an allocation amendment, the housing extension, and then termination. TID 8 is the affordable housing extension and then just the termination of that district. TID 9 is simply a termination, and then TID 23 is a allocation amendment specifically. So those are the 4 districts. Those are the actions we are asking for your consideration on at this organizational meeting. TID 7 is specifically the allocation amendment is essentially adoption of the resolution and actually amending the project plan document. Those are both attached in your packet for your information on those. Essentially, the purpose of the district here is actually, folks kind of get the idea, recall where that is. This is essentially Ashland Avenue and Lombardi Avenue. The specifics behind this particular allocation amendment, this was essentially for infrastructure improvements related to a project that was going to be funded in TID 7. This was related to a hospitality project, a hotel project. We call the Legacy Project, was going to be occurring really, I think was actually going to start late 2021, to get started. The pandemic has obviously slowed down their efforts to get moving on that project and caused a delay in that project moving forward. So we were looking at the option of either delaying everything by a year in 7, simply leaving it in 7. But as we looked at it and analyzed it, we realized that if we could, it is within the same proximity for TID 23. So we could move essentially the expenditure that we had for TID 23 for TID 7 into TID 23. That would actually still allow us to close 7 then on time here this particular year. So the expenditure really isn't any different than what was previously proposed. It's simply being moved from one district to the other to allow this one, TID 7, to close as was originally anticipated. Essentially, so that is primarily pedestrian improvements related to that particular project. So does anyone have any general questions on that in particular, or can I get any more details on anything on that?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, I guess. Do you have any more details about what these projects specifically are?
Primarily pedestrian. Again, it's a lot of some sidewalks in an area that does not have sidewalks. Brad is the main area there. We are in discussions actually with the applicant right now on doing a couple of possible other amendments in terms of maybe some more pedestrian safety islands, some other things, depending on exactly how the other project moves forward. So essentially, this is an area where there are no sidewalks right now. And a large part of the Legends district in this immediate area was really meant to kind of enhance the pedestrian aspects of it, particularly obviously with game day as big focus, lots of people walking in this immediate area. The idea was this project, the hotel project, was kind of meant to be really the key funding project to help pay for those improvements in this particular area. So it's really a matter of kind of just trying to tie it into, again, the delay of the project, really just allowing us to still became a kind of a little bit of an exercise. We said, rather than leave 7 open an additional year, we just felt it would be more appropriate to shift it to 7 because it is within a half mile of that district and will still serve that district for 23. So again, primarily sidewalk improvements on at least 2 streets. I'm trying to remember exactly which 2 they were. Not being from Green Bay, that doesn't help me originally. But we can actually, so I can actually bring some more additional details if you can share that out with the specific improvements. If the board would like to see those, I'm happy to share those with the
some of the reason that I was asking was because on the TID 23 slide, it shows $850,000 coming in, $820,000 reduction in debt or payment towards debt. And so I just wanted to know if this is assigned to a specific project or if it's just going into to fund 23.
It's just going Bradley.
No, this one is the.
Yeah, I can just step in. I'm the one who filled out this slide. We just didn't have another line that was just saying for more public expenses. I guess maybe I put it on the wrong line. I guess Neil, he's talking about that last slide for 23. If you would want to jump to that one.
23. Let's see. You can hop ahead here. Whoops. Let's see here. Whoops.
Not to jump the gun, but these are related.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, Brad. No, good question. And just the note, I think the key note on this one too, the 850,000 is a not to exceed number. The budget estimate I think we had when we took a look at this one, Brad, was 750 to 850,000. So if you actually look at the resolution, I think we ended up putting a bracketed range of 750 to 850. So I think Diana probably just inserted the maximum number on the table there.
As Bradley is saying, I guess I put it in the expenses debt line, and the debt has not actually been incurred yet. That is correct, Bradley. It probably should be up in probably expenses, our projected expenses for 2021.
Okay.
So debt has not been incurred yet. We certainly have worked with our director of public works, and his staff is working on the engineering, and then the kind of the design of this infrastructure. Again, it was really, they already put one plan together in 2020, and then things have changed, so then they have to go back and incorporate the plan that's for that area and the changes with this hotel. So the Department of Public Works is working on it. It just did not get finalized in 20. They have to make some tweaks for 21, and then they'll be moving forward to put these bids out on the street.
So the resolution for consideration is really to transfer funds to not to exceed 850,000 to complete capital projects related to TID 23, and those funds I would assume will need to be we'll need to have that amount by the end of 2021 so that we can complete the termination.
Correct.
So at some point during the year, probably in our October meeting, we'll have an idea whether that's 750, 800, or 850.
Yes.
Okay.
We can move, and Diane, I'm assuming we can just go ahead and make an adjustment to that table.
Yeah.
No, great question, Brad. Good catch. Thank you. So back to here. Hopping back on to 7. Does anyone else have any questions regarding 7 at this point in terms of the allocation amendment?
The only other question is there any remaining net value 3 going out for affordable housing, which is a 1-year revenue projection? We have 850, not to exceed 850 going for these capital projects. Where does that put the TID 7 fund?
With projected and with the remaining debt service, it will put us at about somewhere between, depends if we put taking 850 out, nope, about 800. Again, 850 is on the high end. That would put it down to 0. If it was closer to 800, you might be closer to having a remaining balance of 40 to 50,000. So it's going to kind of depend how the bids come in this summer.
And if the construction is authorized up to 850 and they expend it and it ends up negative, does the city of Green Bay eat the negative amount upon termination? And if it ends up positive, is there a distribution?
Yes, correct. Well, this project probably would end up being went over the 850. It would end up paying out probably either the city would pay for it, or like you said, or it would probably be a TIF 23 then expense. And if there was a yes, then that would get distributed at the end of the year when this term TID is closed.
Okay.
Other questions on the TID 7 allocation amendment?
So is there $900,000 also? Is there a 900 distribution and 850 distribution? I'm just trying to clarify.
Yes, there was a $900,000 TIF allocation that was approved last year to go to TIF 9. If you remember, that is our I-54, 57 industrial park that had very negative. So yes, there was 900 approved in a prior meeting. And then we expected not only this 900,000, we also expected these amenities for these pedestrian amenities would have been completed in 20. And then we were going to close it. So the only thing that didn't happen was the those amenities did not get finished in 20. And so we're asking, instead of leaving, again, as Neil said, leaving this TID open one more year, let's still close it down, get that affordable housing in for our sake. And then in a year from now, then all the taxing jurisdictions will have the additional increment for this TID, which is 2021 increment for TID 7 is $793,000. From now, it's $800,000. Well, now they go back, closing down TID 7.
Okay, thank you.
And I think just something to make that a little clearer would be to fill in the ending balance.
Ending balance, that's where I was going to.
Yeah.
With
Put the ending balance in and
858.63.
carry it up.
Yeah, the 850 puts it right around zero balance. And so if you were to put 800, yes, it would have had a positive fund to balance about 50. So that is why we allocated anywhere from 750 to 850. That is two things. We knew what was allowed or what was we had available in here, and based on some of the preliminary quotes that DPW had put out there and had estimates, that it was in that ballpark.
Okay.
Make that alter that edit. That's not a problem. So from TID 7 to TID 23. Okay. We'll move on to, again, we mentioned that essentially just identifying the affordable housing resolution extension, which was in the previous table, as well as, and then the termination resolution for this particular district. So any questions on either anything else related to TID 7? If not, we'll hop on to TID 8. Again, this is the Morrow Street district here specifically. This is the district here. We're looking at, again, starting balances. This is primarily simply the housing extension resolution for this particular district. So again, there's our numbers as currently projected. So this would essentially be a $381,000 extension into TID 8. So no other expenses on this one. Any questions on TID 8? Okay. There's the resolution item specifically, again, drafted and included in your packet. In this case, there was no specific action required by this body, but and then also the termination resolution for 8. Again, to make sure that we'll take care of both of those. So getting 2 of those closed will be nice to get a couple of those put away and back on the tax roll for everyone. So with that, move on to TIF district number 9. Again, this is the Highway 5457 Business Park district. This is the one we are simply termination resolution. This one does still have a balance of funds owed. Here again, this is the actual item. Here is the actual, you notice they still have the expenses of $1.4 million on this one. So this is one, Diana, correct me if I'm wrong, the city essentially will be taking on the debt for this particular district.
We have, as you have seen, you can see that we've moved in $2.9 million to cover those expenses. It was a negative fund balance of 1.3, somewhere around 1.3. We still had a few small expenses this year, and then we have a remaining outstanding debt of 1.4 that would roll up would end up with a ending zero. Yes, if it's a small surplus, then it would get allocated to the taxing jurisdictions. If it's a shortfall, then the city would take on that. If there is, so it's right around the ending balance should be close to zero.
Okay. And this was just obviously with the transfer from the previous year. This is essentially bringing this one to a close. So. Any questions on TID 9? This is one, the city actually does have some, we do plan on continuing to allocate to assist property owners in marketing this property. Even though we are looking at closing this one, there's still some developable potential out in this area. So we will be continuing to work with the owners on there and try to get this area improved to add some additional taxable value out here. But it simply will not be, the district won't be open to help us do that. We're just going to need to look at some other opportunities to help make that happen. So. Any questions on TID 9? Okay. And then TID 23 is simply the allocation amendment. This is the recipient to the first one we initially discussed, essentially, and it's just the same project that we were discussing earlier. So again, so the resolution is all that is required from the Joint Review Board at this point, looking at this kind of simple numbers here. I don't have that. We certainly could make available as obviously long. This is a fairly new district, so there's considerable amount of projects and things to be done in this one going forward. So we don't have necessarily a projected end balance at this point because it's subject to a lot of other projects. But certainly happy to spend some more detailed reviewing TID 23, the actual expenses in that one, if that was something that was desired by this body.
So the way I'm interpreting TID 23 is that if we can get the infrastructure in place, then we have a potential opportunity that would add to the increment of this TID. But until that work gets done, they're not willing to sign off. Is that kind of the way to think about it? Is this kind of the final piece that if we put the infrastructure in, they'll sign? I mean, I guess my question is, are we spending the money knowing that we're going to get it, or are we spending it hoping that we get it?
No, we are fairly certain with the one project we are looking at doing here. We're looking at almost for certain on the hotel project. There's a couple of other lots in this immediate area that I think we're kind of projecting some increment on. But we do know for sure the one project we're certainly doing the allocation for. We actually have a development agreement in place with this particular developer to do the project. They are essentially, because of the delay, they are essentially in violation of that. We are basically renegotiating that particular agreement to kind of do that 1 year extension, Bob. So we are fairly confident that project is going to move forward. It's going to generate essentially to make this one happen. And we do think that it is going to have a positive impact on the kind of surrounding lots immediately around this hotel site. We think there is going to be additional increment that's likely going to happen because this hotel project gets put in. So the minimum requirement is this hotel is the one. Yes, we are fairly sure it's going to come in once this amendment is made. But it should hopefully be a catalyst for the other increment that's projected for TID 23 to kind of help make some increment happen for surrounding this particular project.
So Diana, have you run the numbers to take a look at what it could be based off of the work? I mean, does this put us into a really strong position on TID 23? I'm assuming that it's just, we're getting snippets of it. And so I'm trying to understand what 23 looks like.
Yep, 23 is brand new, just got open in 2020. So not much action has happened in here. So that this is part of the reason why we wanted to take this allocation also through. So what we're looking at is pretty much what we think the expense for these amenities for pedestrian amenities are going to be paid for the prior TID. Moving forward, do I have a forecast? We'll be bringing, obviously, we'll have all that information at our next meetings, as we finish out the year of 2020 and we project 2021 and future years, we would have more information on the TID 23. But at this point, really what the project that we're planning to take, we're really expecting that, up to that 850 is just going to pay for those amenities. And that helps really the former TID 7, and it will help TID 23, which will be a big asset for the new hotel project coming in.
Okay.
So I don't have those specific numbers right now for you. Obviously, we will have that when we have our annual meeting in June, and the projections for that hotel project. We're still working on their timing. They've had asked a delay because of the COVID year. So we're working with them and looking at the new timelines. So then we'll have better projections later this year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding TID 23 and or TID 7? They are kind of joined at the hip here for this one. Any other questions on either of these? Okay. If not, meeting schedule coming up here. Obviously, this is us today.
Neil?
Yes.
We didn't actually take official vote on the resolutions.
Do we need to actually? I guess that's my understanding is that those resolutions don't necessarily get approved until actually they're the second JRB meeting. Is that correct? I thought they were introduced at this particular meeting and then they were actually voted on at the second meeting. Is that? I mean, I'm certainly happy. We can certainly have them take the vote on it, but I believe because I think the JRB resolution specifically include the fact that the RDA has met and that council has taken action. So obviously they can't do that until their second meeting.
Yep, I apologize for that.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, just Sarah. So RDA as our entity essentially that acts like our plan commission on these meets tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. We're looking at this, taking these to the city council on March 16th, and then obviously sending out some sort of doodle poll or other scheduling mechanism with the joint review board here to get the second meeting scheduled, so where we will actually take action on the two resolutions. Any questions or concerns on either of those?
I'm just wondering whether there's a way that we can make it. It says not to exceed 850,000, but I don't know that it's limiting to identified capital improvements. If we can say somehow in the resolution that these are for capital projects identified within 2020 as a way to make sure that it's, my concern is that it'll just be, we've identified that there's this much left over in TID 7 and then we're transferring it over for capital projects to be determined. And I'd rather it be for capital projects that we've identified in 2020.
That's I don't see any issues with that whatsoever. Easy to add, Brad. Happy to do that. And that's why we don't vote on it at the first meeting. Also help us dial it in. That's not a problem. So, okay. All right. Any other questions? We'll bring everybody back here. Righty. All right. It's looking back on those items. We've kind of covered regular business and the informational ones throughout all those presentations. So is there any questions on really any of the proposed actions here, either under sections E or F? We kind of covered them all in one shot here. Okay, and then we will set the next meeting date and time. We'll do that. We'll do a poll to confirm everyone's availability. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions, I'll make sure, hopefully via email, I think everyone has my contact information and or Diana's. If any questions do come up, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Otherwise, we will send out a poll for the next meeting date and time once the RDA and City Council has taken action on these items. So I guess with that, we would be ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Brad, seconded by Brent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you for your time, everyone. Sorry for the glitch at the beginning of the meeting. Hopefully we'll dial that one in the next time around. So
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks.